Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brad with Spite Fitness. Today is November 8th. It's a Sunday, and so Sundays are not normally training days for me. But I've been kind of slacking on my consistency. Didn't get my training in on Saturday. Essentially, training partners kind of flaking on me, and not really feeling like it either, right? Like I could have carried my happy ass out here into the garage and gotten something done, but I didn't. But the thing I want to talk about today is kind of about motivation, right? So I've had some viewers ask me kind of how I keep motivation and how I stay with that fire in my belly and, train angry and all that, especially in the wake of that train angry video. But the reality is that I don't always stay angry, and I don't always have that fire in my belly, and I don't always even really want to be in the gym. In fact, quite frequently, I would rather be somewhere else, doing whatever else. But I still force myself to come in and train, and I still try to stay on top of it. Now, that doesn't mean that I always train no matter what, because I do take time off, and there are days where I'm like, you know what, nope, I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna take it to the house, and we're not gonna lift today. So there is a measure of discretion with all things, right? Like, you have to make that decision about if it's a good day to train or not. Some days are just bad days to train, and you know damn well it's a bad day to train, and you should not train. But that having been said, there are many days where maybe you don't feel like it, and you probably ought to at least come in and get something done, which is essentially what I'm doing here. And because I'm just kind of forcing myself to get into the gym, today is not a particularly high energy day. But I thought that would be a useful thing to talk about, is that not every training session is going to be super, high energy, your soul's on fire and you're ready to just destroy the weight. Like, that's not how that works. And ultimately, if you had something inside of you that you could reach to, and you had that trigger, if you use that trigger every single training session, you're going to burn that trigger out. Our bodies and how we respond to things, stimulation will fade, right? You will adapt out to whatever the stimulus is, and eventually that stimulus won't be enough anymore. It won't get you where it once did. So after you utilize it, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. So if you do have something in your mind, that trigger, you don't want to use it every time. You want to hold that in reserve for moments that matter, and that you really want to let loose. Then you can tap into that as kind of as a rarity, not a rule, right? I think it's important to know that some training sessions are just to check the block, and you're just kind of hanging out and doing whatever, and you're not on a war path. That's not how that works. I think by staying calm and staying focused and not being on the war path, it also helps you be focused and think about what you're doing and be thoughtful and in the moment, versus just a raging Hulk monster, because I don't think that the raging Hulk monster is a sustainable thing. Yeah, this is a very not thought out video, and I'm just kind of randomly spouting ideas here. It's not really working for me very good, so let's go for the next set. A little bit closer.
Closer?
Yeah, I prefer like a tighter shot.
Here?
Yeah, that's probably pretty cool. Very close. Too close. Much too close. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Battle Display Fitness, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do tonight in terms of video-wise, right? But something kind of came up in the training that I thought might be a good thing to touch point and just kind of talk about a little bit. So I came in and I did my deadlift training, which was kind of a makeup for yesterday because I didn't get in and train. But getting in and doing it, I got through my working sets, which is all well and good. But then I did something a little bit different, something I haven't done in quite some time, which is some isometric holds. And you can see, I'll just kind of overlay some video here. But you can see what I did is I just set up my pins inside my rack with just the bare bar and was doing like 10-second isometric holds. What I did in this particular iteration of training is I did 3 different heights. So the first height was the highest, and then I lowered it, and then I lowered it for a third time, and basically did 3 10-second holds with that isometric, right? And so that is something I think is pretty beneficial. So if you have a sticking point in your deadlift, right, there's just a point that you tend to kind of sputter out on, the isometric hold might be a really good thing for you to work on right where that stall point is for you, whether it's just below the knee or above the knee or whatever, right? You can set it up a number of different ways. I have the benefit of having a power rack that I have bolted to the floor, so there is no threat of me moving this rack whatsoever. You may not necessarily have a bolted down rack available to you. If that were the case and you didn't have a rack that you could perform those isometric holds on, I might recommend that you do some blocks. So load the bar up with a weight that you cannot move or you cannot pick up, and then just do like you can set it up on blocks or other plates, whatever, to kind of get the height that you need for wherever your stall point is. So there are ways around and be able to kind of do isometric holds without a power rack like I have. But I think that those isometric holds are really great because you fight and you strain at that point where maybe you normally stall at. Now the key for the isometric hold is that, you know, once you start pulling and you set, continue to pull and drive as hard as you can for whatever the duration that you've decided is, whether it's 5 second, 10 second, whatever. In my case, I was using 10 seconds, and as I was pulling, I just tried to continue to pull as hard as I could for that entire duration until that 10 seconds was over, and then I relaxed. It's quite a strain. If it's not something that you're familiar with, you might want to make sure that maybe you have like a partner behind you that might be able to catch you, because under that kind of strain, if you really are pushing yourself and pulling as hard as you possibly can, it's pretty easy to get a little lightheaded once you relax. So be careful with that kind of disclaimer if you choose to perform this movement. But I think that it's good because it helps you kind of develop that fight in that sticking point. Because a lot of times for us psychologically, as we're going, you know, we know where our normal sticking point is or our normal failure point is. And that's kind of a psychological thing, right? So as we start getting closer and closer to our 1 rep max, you know, we start being fearful of wherever that stick point is. Now, if you do those isometric holds and you're pulling as hard as you possibly can pull at that stick point for like 10 seconds, that teaches you fight, right? So instead of just hitting that stick point and if the bar stops moving, you just kind of give up and you set and you fight, that might be the way for you to kind of get through that sticking point and reach new plateaus and a new PR. So it's just something to consider. I know that isometric holds are something that people have used for a very long time. It's nothing new. Obviously I'm not creating anything new here, but I just want to kind of bring something back to your attention that maybe you haven't been trying. So it's kind of a modality that you can throw in to shake things up a little bit and try something just a little bit different if you find that you have a sticking point on the deadlift. That's it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave in the chat box below. I'll be sure to respond. I appreciate you guys continuing to support me in the channel with all the likes, the shares, and the subs. It means a lot, and I really do appreciate you. If you've joined the channel recently, thanks. And if you've seen like a video or 3 and haven't joined yet, I wish that you'd stick around. I'd love to have you join the channel and be part of the family for a bit. Yeah, that's it, guys. Remember, no matter what it is you think you can't do, sometimes you got to kind of think outside the box, shake things up, do something a little bit different so that you get through the sticking points. You're either going to find an excuse or you're going to find a way, and hope that you guys continue to find a way and use that train despite mentality. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next one. Peace.